Okay. So yeah, welcome. Thanks for joining us today to learn some Python. I hope you guys are as excited as I am. Just for a brief introduction, my name is Rachel and I am an instructor for Girls Code It, and I will be teaching this Python course.
And I am also the other instructor, and my name is Maurice Lan. And I'll also be teaching this course.
Okay, so this will be a introductory course to Python. So if you do have experience with Python, then you might see some concepts that you've already learned before. And if you want some more information about the course and our course content, you can go on our website. Let's just get into the lesson. Today we'll be giving a basic introduction to Python. We will just be going over some of the benefits and applications of Python, and then after we'll be writing a few lines of code. And I will let Morris take over after this loads.
Okay, so what are the benefits of Python? Python is very easy to learn because it has a clean syntax. The code you'll be seeing later is going to be very simple. Hold on, we'll give you an example later, and it's very easy to understand, which means that Python is a good beginner. Python with a simple syntax can also get problems solved very fast because less lines are required to input a command. Python also has a limited amount of libraries, which means that Python can be used for a variety of different ways, such as graphing, calculation, and more. Also, with Python's massive support base, this means that generally, if you have any question or problem, you can always ask online for help because there are many people who knows how to use Python's language. Also, Python is it's going to be used by a lot of companies, which means that you can find a lot of jobs that require Python as a language. And you will see why and how the language will be used in the next slide.
Awesome.
Okay, so in web development, Python uses a server-side coding, which means that it interacts with databases and files that are within the website. An example is if you take a website like Amazon, all the products, when you click on them, are always different, but the layout stays the same. This is where server-side coding comes to work. And in backend development, it's basically the same concept as web development, which means like the code that operates behind the website. So in software development, Python is one of the many languages that are supported. So yeah, and in data science, in relation to web scraping, works together because they both extract data and help display it on a website. For example, a website called Forecast Watch extracts data from other sources, and it compiles all of the data together, which finally displays the collected data using a website code. And in automation are kind of scripts where you can easily create to do very repetitive tasks or just save you some time. An example of this is creating a script that records a TV show that you like during a certain time when it airs. In the last two mobile apps and artificial intelligence, they both use Python as one of their supported languages, and that'll be it.
And data science is definitely one of the more common uses for Python. You can do a lot of things with data science, such as creating libraries. There's a lot of free open source libraries that are open to the public. So you could do a lot of cool things in data science, like making graphs or data visualizations. And yeah, that's a really cool thing that we'll actually be going a little bit into later on in this course. Now for some more general information on Python. Python is an interpreted language, so it is dynamically typed, meaning that the reference type is determined on runtime. And if you guys don't really get what this means, we will be going over it a little bit later on. But basically what it means is that as you write the source code, the Python will translate it into machine code. So as an interpreted language, this will do it when you run the program. But if you compare compare it to something like Java, which is a static and compiled language, then the translation from the source code to the machine code will be before you actually run the program. So a lot of people do use Java because it is faster, but Python does have a lot of benefits as well. Python is also parsed through white space. So this just means that it is really important that you make sure to indent and that you have the correct syntax, or else Python cannot read your code and what you're trying to do. And again, Python is a super readable language since it has a really simple and clear syntax. So the reader can really easily understand your code and your text. And down here, you will see these three arrows, and this is what you call a chevron. And this basically tells you that you are in the Python interpreter. And I can show you guys in repl.it really quickly, which we'll be signing up for a little bit later in this lesson. But if you can see my cursor, can you guys see my cursor? Yeah, okay. So here, this orange arrow in the interpreter side, this is basically how repl.it writes the chevron. It's just one arrow here, but normally it is three arrows. Okay, so this is just a comparison of the Java versus the Python syntax. You can see that Java is definitely much longer to just print out hello world into the console, whereas Python is just one line. And here are just some common types of errors. What errors are basically when Python can't really understand or interpret your code. Say you made a typo. It doesn't mean that your program is bad at all. It just means that Python can't read what you're trying to say or can't understand what you're trying to say. And usually these errors will pop up in like huge red letters. You won't miss it. And yeah, the one of the more common types of errors is a syntax error, which is basically when you write code that violates some of the grammatical errors. So if you make some typos or you don't have the correct indentation, as I mentioned before, since Python is a white space parsed language, it will shoot you back an error. If you're missing a quotation mark as shown in the second line, there's missing a quotation mark. You will also get a syntax error message when you run your code. Now for logic errors, these are more difficult to debug. This is when you think the program is right. There aren't really any grammatical errors or syntax errors, but the results just aren't what you expected. They're really unpredictable and can sometimes make your program crash. Uh, if you do have any problems with this as you go through the course, please again go to our website, fill out the tutoring request form, and you can ask us any questions, and the volunteers will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Now for exceptions, these errors basically just indicate what happened. They're not really fatal to your program, but some examples are, say you divided by 0, which you can't really do. So it will just shoot you back an exception error. Another thing could be if you try to print out a variable that you haven't declared before, and that will also give you an exception error. And these errors are usually handled with try and except statements, and we will be going over try and except statements later on in the course, so you don't have to worry about that just yet. Now we will just help you guys set up the repl.it account, and Morris will walk you through this.
Okay, so to set up a repl.it account, you want to click the link that Rachel is going to link very soon, or you can just go to repl.it, and I'll give you some time for you guys to go to the website. Okay, so once you are on the website, you want to enter in your information that you want, and yeah, and make sure you log in first. Yeah. So you're gonna get a pop-up where it's gonna ask you some question about yourself, it doesn't really matter what you put. You just can fill it out based on who you are. And once you're finished with that, you get another pop-up where it's to prompt you to ask, prompt you to select 3 languages. You want to, of course, put Python as one of them. And for the other 2, I suggest you guys to put Java, and HTML, CSS, and JS, or JavaScript, because we will be teaching those in future courses. And now just wait for you guys to fill it out real quick. So on the very top right of your screen, there's going to be a plus button. And what you want to do is you're going to press the plus button to create a new repl.it. And once you click on it, you're going to prompt for a language select. So select Python as the language. And once you click on language, on the language you want, there's going to be a randomly generated name. It doesn't really matter what you click. You can name it just pretty much anything you want. Or you can just leave it at the default name that is generated for you. And I'll give you guys some time to do that.
Everyone's done. So now that we have our repl.it account all created, we can start coding. Hope everyone's excited. It's going to be pretty difficult to switch between the tabs, but make it work. Okay, cool. So repl.it will be the IDE that we will be using to run our code. So we can just start by printing our first line of code. You guys can try this along with me. We'll just print out hello world. And this line basically just says you will have to have the print function here with parentheses. And then inside is whatever you want to print into the interpreter here. And you guys will see once you press the green run button, it will print hello world. And this is a string. You know this because there are quotation marks around hello world. But say you wanted to print something like an integer, like 1, 2, 3, then you do not need to include the quotation marks around the numbers. And this will just print 1, 2, 3, like so. But you could also convert this into a string, and it will print the same thing. And don't worry too much about these data types, strings, and integers. We will go over that more in the next lesson. Okay, I can just demonstrate how to print string again. I want to print hi. No per hi, but say you forgot a quotation mark. Then you will get the syntax error I mentioned before, and then it will try to guess kind of what your error is, and you can debug it and fix it like so. It'll run saying hi.
And yeah, Python does not need a semicolon to understand.
Yeah, Python, the syntax, super clean, no semicolon, no brackets, really. Yeah, really great language. Okay, here, this is basically just saying to print a variable. So basically, a equals 24. The value 24 is being stored in the variable a. So a is initialized as 24. And if you want to print the value of a, you can do so like this. And it will print 24 in the interpreter. And if you're not really sure what variables are, and again, if you don't really know what these data types are, we will be going over it in our next lesson. So don't worry too much about that now. Now for input statements, this basically allows you to print out a question and then have the user input their own response, and then whatever the user inputs will be stored inside this variable a. And then I will just show you guys how to do that. Oh yeah, if I'm going too fast or if you guys have any questions, please just let me know in the chat or you can unmute yourselves. Let me check the chat real quick. Okay, cool. So I'll just show you guys the input statements. What is your name? Then print A. So here, here it printed what is your name into the editor, and then it asked for your input. So I would put Rachel, and then you can see that it was stored inside the variable a as it was printed below here. But say you wanted to print something like hi with this variable a, so it would say hi Rachel, then you can do hi and then comma a, and this comma basically it concatenates the string together, but the comma creates a space between hi and a. So I'll show you guys here, and it'll say hi Rachel with a space between. You could also do this with a plus sign, but then the plus sign will not put any spacing in between, so you'll have to manually do that yourselves. And you can do any input here. I can do Morris, and it will print hi Morris. Is everyone good with that? Does anyone have any questions? Okay, since we have a lot more time for this lesson, we could show a video. And these will just give you a better idea of how you can apply Python. Yeah, what applications you can do with Python.
In this video, I'm going to answer the top 3 questions my students ask me about Python. What is Python? What you can do with it? And why is it so popular? In other words, what does it do that other programming languages don't? Python is the world's fastest growing and most popular programming language, not just amongst software engineers, but also amongst mathematicians, data analysts, scientists, accountants, network engineers, and even kids, because it's a very beginner-friendly programming language. So people from different disciplines use Python for a variety of different tasks, such as data analysis and visualization, artificial intelligence and machine learning, automation. In fact, this is one of the big uses of Python amongst people who are not software developers. If you constantly have to do boring, repetitive tasks, such as copying files and folders around, renaming them, uploading them to a server, you can easily write a Python script to automate all that and save you time. And that's just one example. If you continuously have to work with Excel spreadsheets, PDFs, CSV files, download websites and parse them, you can automate all that stuff with Python. So you don't have to be a software developer to use Python. You could be an accountant, a mathematician, or a scientist and use Python to make your life easier. You can also use Python to build web, mobile, and desktop applications, as well as software testing or even hacking. So Python is a multi-purpose language. Now, if you have some programming experience, you may say, but Mosh, we can do all this stuff with other programming languages. So what's the big deal about Python? Here are a few reasons. With Python, you can solve complex problems in less time with fewer lines of code. Here's an example. Let's say we want to extract the first 3 letters of the text, hello world. This is the code we have to write in C#. This is how we do it in JavaScript. And here's how we do it in Python. See how short and clean the language is? And that's just the beginning. Python makes a lot of trivial things really easy with a simple yet powerful syntax. Here are a few other reasons why Python is so popular. It's a high-level language, so you don't have to worry about complex tasks, such as memory management, like you do in C++. It's cross-platform, which means you can build and run Python applications on Windows, Mac, and Linux. It has a huge community, so whenever you get stuck, there is someone out there to help. It has a large ecosystem of libraries, frameworks, and tools, which means whatever you want to do, it is likely that someone else has done it before. because Python has been around for over 20 years. So in a nutshell, Python is a multi-purpose language with a simple, clean, and beginner-friendly syntax. All of that means Python is awesome. Technically, everything you do with Python, you can do with other programming languages, but Python's simplicity and elegance has made it grow way more than other programming languages. That's why it's the #1 language employers are looking for. So whether you're a programmer or an absolute beginner, learning Python opens up lots of job opportunities to you. In fact, the average Python developer earns a whopping $116,000 a year. If you found this video helpful, please support my hard work by liking it and sharing.
Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Do have a lot more time left. We could go over this workshop that is completely optional, since there are a couple of concepts that we haven't really gone too in depth with, and we will be going more in depth about them in the next lesson. But basically what this workshop entails is that it is a Mad Libs workshop, so you want to have like questions for the user to input their own answers. So questions like, what is your name, what is your age, and then let the user respond with anything that fits these conditions. And then whatever they respond will be inputted into this pre-prepared string that you guys will create. And so here is an example. Say the user inputted Taylor Swift for a celebrity, then it will be added into the string. Taylor Swift is one of the best-selling, and then the same thing will happen for these. So Taylor Swift is one of the best-selling gorillas as of Hanukkah of 2020. Yeah, and I can give you guys an example about how this will work. Okay. So you can initialize a variable called name with, you can initialize it with the input, what is your name? And then you can do another one that is, say, age. You can ask the user's input about what their age is. I'm really sorry for the lag. And then for the third variable, you could put a pet, and then you can ask the user, name a pet. And then below here, you want to print out a string that concatenates the variables with the string. So you could say something like, my name is, and then you plus sign, and then you put in the variable you want to input. So here would be name. And then you could put I am, oh sorry, I forgot to add another plus sign here. But I am, add another plus sign, and then put in the variable age. And then another plus sign, and then you can say, and I have a, put in the variable text. This should run smoothly. What is your name? I'll put Rachel. What is your age? 16. And then name a pet, dog. Oh, there was a spacing issue. But here you can see it says, my name is Rachel, I am 16, and I have a dog. And that's generally what Mad Libs is and how you would do it. So if you guys want to try that out right now, you guys could. And if you have any questions, you could ask us. Or if you want, I can do another one. If you guys have some fun variables you want to create or a fun story you guys want me to create. And I can just give you guys a visualization of that. The input function, yes. Okay, so we will be, again, going over this more in depth in the next lesson. So basically, this input function here, you type in the input function and then it prints out what is your name or whatever you put in between the parentheses. It prints it out into the interpreter here. It prints it out into the interpreter, what is your name here, and the input function here asks the user to input whatever they want. You could input a string, an integer, anything like that. And then whatever the user inputs will be stored inside this variable. You can create any type of variable. We'll be going over variables more later. But yeah, it stores this input into the variable here. In this case, it will be name. And then since this input Rachel is stored inside name, you can declare the variable. You can call the variable, sorry, you can call the variable in this print function here, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, also Rachel, someone has a question of whether the slides are going to be sent to the participant.
Oh yeah, so this lesson is being recorded and then we are going to be uploading it on our website so you guys can rewatch it as many times as you need. Okay, yeah, I can show how I added my name to the box. So here it's just what is your name? It asks for my input. So here I can type anything I want. I can type Rachel here, or I can type in Morris. You can type in anything, yeah. And then from here you just press enter, and it basically that's all you need to do to get this to be stored inside of the variable name. Did I answer your question, Liesel? If that's how I pronounce it, I'm sorry. Okay, cool. I think I'll just be concluding this meeting. Thanks everyone for joining us today, just to learn a little bit about Python and coding. If you need any help, please feel free to reach out to us. You can email us at girlscodepv@gmail.com, or you can email me with the email I sent you guys with the link with. Or you can go on our website. I will show you guys. Up here, you will see on the bar the button free tutoring. You can click that. And then you can just scroll down to this button book. And from here, you can just fill out the form and ask your questions, and one of the volunteers will try to answer them as soon as they see it. Yeah, that concludes our lesson. Thanks everyone for coming.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming.
Hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. Bye-bye.